What do you mean? What did you realize about education?
Just to this effect. You see, this is. Yes.
You ready?
Yes. Yes.
So we getting into ideology and anthropology, or you already got it?
Oh yes, we on it. We on it. So, I just want to say from the outstart is that I realized this here. And remember I said earlier about how what Steve Copley has said. He has said that about blacks are not going to unite in the process, that they're only going to unite when they see results, you know. And there's a lot of truth to that, you know, because when you're trying to, we have been so isolated and ostracized, which means marginalized. I guess the word to use is that. And then we know that we're trying to, you know, maybe carve out a existence and a living, afford out a living for ourselves as an individual. And we know here in America that our experience is so unique that, you know, this system or those who control this system within itself, I can't say control the means of productivity, but they rule by, you know, fear and division, you know. So in the process of coming together or bringing people together can be very challenging because people want to see results, because it's going to take work. You know what I'm saying? It's going to take a lot of work. And for the most part, people rather, you know, participate in sport and play. You know what I'm saying? They don't really want to do any serious work.
They don't want to pick no cotton.
No, well, I'm talking about serious work. I mean,
I'm sheets, but they don't want to pick no cotton.
Because
they want to eat the chicken, but they don't want to kill the chicken.
Well, the thing is, though, is that anytime you're trying to work on a project for self-improvement, for a group of people, it is very challenging because of these people have been so disappointed and through their some type of setback, or even in their mental thinking. It was said this here. It says that I'm going to make sense of this here. It says that 90% or interaction skills, that 10% of conflicts are due to difference of opinion, and 90% is due to the wrong tone of voice.
Yeah, well, you know I need that, because I hear that all the time.
Yeah, yeah. Now,
you're probably right, but I think people misunderstand my tone of voice.
Well, the thing is, though, right? The challenge is in this regard is that 90% under this surveillance that we're under, 90% of us communicating or interacting with one another, 90% probably is under suspicion. That means we're suspicious of each other. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And think about that, though, man. That makes a lot of sense, man, you know? So that's why when you come, before you do anything else, as I said, we need to come in the spirit of cooperation. They said before a brother taught any religion, they called it Islam, he taught brotherhood. You know what I'm saying? So that's important, man. You come in the spirit of cooperation. And there's a saying that about we're dealing with these 5 types of people, I would like to say, or persons, or even personalities. And it is a teachings of ancient Kemet. And I like it. I think it's very his home. It says here that this is what it says, and I'm gonna read it to you. It says, a person who knows not and knows not that they know not is foolish. Disregard them.
Wait a minute, man.
Yes. Yes.
How did these pens write something?
And it says, a person who knows not and knows that they know not is simple. Teach them. A person who knows not and believes that they know is dangerous, avoid them. A person who knows and knows not that they know is asleep, awaken them. A person who knows and knows that they know is wise, follow them. All these persons reside in you. Know thyself, and my heart be true. Now, if we want to deal with the first one, the foolish person. A foolish person. There was a saying that never put a fool in a position of power. People will start to think that's the model to follow. There's also a saying that never argue with a fool, because it's hard to distinguish. Someone is on the outside, it's hard to distinguish which one is the fool. You know what I'm saying? That's true, Bill. But you talk about fool, you talk about one who has foolish pride. You know, one is unwilling to even to forgive. You know, one who's unable to admit his or her own shortcomings. One who's able to admit his or her own faults. That's a fool, you know. And we have to realize that even in that English Bible, it says that, look beyond the fault and see the need, you know. And the need is to being able to admit when you're wrong. You know what I'm saying? Admit, your faults. And when you're unable to not admit to that, then you know what is in the way. They call it an ego. You know what I'm saying? It is a ego. Yeah, so that's the foolish person. And that resides in each and every one of us. Some of the foolishness has a stronger hold and on others, while some have not as a strong hold on the person, if I might say that. So get rid of that foolish pride. I remember, it said pride goes before the fall. And when I realized about the fall, I realized that it is a lack of accountability. Because the garden, as I come to learn do some teaching, that it represents the totality of an environment. When we talk about the totality of an environment, we talk about even a community. And when you have an environment, you have everything right there for you that is designed to help aid and assist and to benefit you. If it says that I come that you may have life and you may have it more abundantly, that means this is the abundance right here. So there is no need, as Malcolm would say, that he had a problem and did not understand why people didn't have access to wealth. Malcolm said that. He had a problem with that. And Malcolm helped support Reginald Lewis in his Beatrice products. Yes. We deal with the simple one. A simple person has very little sense of intelligence, You know what I'm saying? And yes, a very sense. Not able to understand or grasp concept, which means when he sees for every solution, he sees a problem. You know what I'm saying? So they say that an optimist see in every problem he sees a solution. And a pessimist sees when he sees a problem instead of a solution. Yes. So it has something to do with not only your perception, also to do with problem-solving skills. To be socially or solution-oriented. So that's a person who knows not, and or a person who knows not and knows that they know not is simple. So you can teach them though, so he can be taught. And then the third one, a person who knows not and believes that they know is dangerous. You avoid them, That's a dangerous person there, because that is anything that involves risk or injury to one's health, And you talk about a person who, because I say that we are born in a condition, placed in a situation, surrounded by circumstances, and consequently some previous activity that has taken place. So we have to deal with the situation. And remember, the situation is dangerous, so you don't put no one at risk. I remember a good brother was telling me one time, about you want to start a church. I mean, not a church, but get a building, for his followers. I said, well, you don't want to put them in a dangerous situation. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what you want to do, but you don't want to put them in a dangerous situation. So you have to use some strategy and make sure that their interests or their coming and going, that they are safe. You know what I'm saying? So yes, unless you are if they are equipped and prepared and they know the consequences, then that's a different ball game. You know what I'm saying? But that you don't want to put no one out there that will cause any hurt, harm, injury, or damage. Yes. Then it says here that a person who knows and knows not that they know is asleep. Awaken them. Yes. That's a person that is not attentive. He or she does not pay attention. Nor is he or she alert. He or she is inactive. And he or she is what? He is senseless. Huh? And we know in this society that we're dealing with what is called senseless murders. Huh? It is senseless, which means less sense. Huh? Instead of having more sense, you got less sense. They said that in the Bible, they talk about Jehan, when he said repent, or perish, he was talking about a change of heart, a change of mind. And he was awakening the senses of people. Their senses, they 5 senses. He was awakening them, because if not, you will become driven by senseless activity, which doesn't make sense at all. It makes sense at all when you are in the same situation and then in the same condition and dealing with the same circumstances, if I may use that your fellow brother, your human being is. That's why it says, love thy neighbors, you love thyself. You know what I'm saying? This is a hate psychosis, if I may use that word, that is being put out there in that climate that put us at odds with one another. Yes, and circumstances makes us other than ourselves. Then it says, finally, a person who knows and knows that they know is wise. You follow them. And that's a person who has experience and knowledge when it comes to being intelligent, because he or she is well informed. Now, I realized recently that to be educated is to be responsible with the affection, or having the affection for discipline. Think about that now. To be educated is to be responsible for having affection for discipline, which means when you have affection for something, you love it. And the challenge is when you don't love discipline, because the Bible says, if I may use it, the English Bible says, he chastised those whom he loved. Huh? Because it's about having affection for discipline. When you don't have affection for discipline, you don't love to be disciplined. When you don't love to be disciplined, you don't love to be corrected. And when you don't love to be corrected, that means in the Islamic language, they say that's what they call shirk. That means that you're succumbing to your urges. You just want to be seen. You know what I'm saying? That's all you're doing, is going about doing things just to be seen, just to get the attention. You know what I'm saying? It's all about what? It's all about you. That's why it says, be careful of those who make long prayers. They do things to be what? To be seen. Yes. And when you're talking about having this, it is a responsibility education is a responsibility for having affection for discipline. And we need to be disciplined. And that's the challenge. We are not disciplined. That means that we have to learn to show restraint. Even if you or I or a brother or a sister, and we talk about the spirit of cooperation, we have to be disciplined enough in our minds that we don't allow the situation to overwhelm us. That we don't allow the circumstances to master us. That we become masters of the circumstances. That's a powerful thing when you become a master of your circumstances. So that's why I say that we must continue to come in the spirit of cooperation. And when you come in the spirit of cooperation, that which is guiding you or leading you is coordination. How you go about coordinating what you're saying, what you're doing, how you're going to respond to any given situation, to any given circumstances. It all plays into discipline. You know what I'm saying?
Amen.
So, and then finally, I was saying about this responsibility for having affection, for discipline, because if you're not responsible with the affection, that means you're what? You're being irresponsible. And that's going to make you what? Unaffection. You know what I'm saying? You have no affection. That means you become numb. That's why I say that society is under social reconstruction where our feelings are becoming desensitized. Huh? When you become desensitized, you become numb. You don't have no affection for your fellow man. And that's why in this system, they says freedom, justice, and equality. They have affection for that. You know, someone said that's the three essentials of love. It's freedom, justice, and equality. Everybody wants to be free. Nobody wants to be held in bondage. Nobody wants to be captive. You know what I'm saying? Nobody wants to be held hostage to anything, whether it's material, whether it's in a relationship. You know what I'm saying? Nobody wants to be feel as if they are being sold cheap or if they are being slighted. No one wants to feel that way. So that's why that is the misunderstanding when it comes to people, the misindoctrination when it comes to religion. Religion in so many far instances has sold the people cheap. Yes, they push you down in order to make someone telling you that you say they say we are born in sin. And we we are born and created people of nobility and dignity. So when a child is born, he or she is born pure. Anything else, he or she learns along the way. Yes. And what is sin? Sin is to miss the mark. It's recidivism. It is moral culture decline. It is what is called a lack of accountability. So we must learn to be accountable with one another as we interact in a spirit of cooperation. If we're being guided and led by coordination, and then therefore the authority in which we speak from is the authority of resiliency. Yes, and when we know that resiliency is the author of our success. So, when you're talking about being successful, you're talking about being successful in changing and making an impact in the life of another. And when you know that you are changed, when you have changed and made an impact in the life of another, because I realize that change is a product of human effort, and that effort must be synthesized. That means you must feel as though and make that person feel as though that he or she is valued, that he is useful, that he can be of value to himself, as well as we can be of value to each other. It is the service that we provide. That's why I say we promote the value of self-worth. People are looking for a place of belonging. They want to feel valued because people are only responding to the extent of the damage and the injury that has been done to his or her humanity. So I say, in closing, that what we need to continue to develop as it pertains to the intellect is our attitude about the correct attitude when it comes to how we cooperate and interact with one another.
Amen, brother.
It is having that right attitude, that attitude in the spirit of cooperation. The attitude when it comes to coordination, fighting your burns, when you talk about being properly directed and properly guided. Because we live in a society where it's that something always comes along to throw you off your path, or the correct path, or the straight path that we all need to go about following. Because people say we're competing over the influence, over the resources. People use the resources to influence the people. It influences your mind. So we're competing over who's going to influence the next person. And what we need to be competing in competition with is being accountable with this responsibility of being good stewards over what has been created on this planet Earth.
Amen.
And finally, the authority in which one should speak is the authority of resiliency. And remember, when you are resilient, it's like you may get bent out of shape. I'll tell you one thing that has resilience about it is that when you come out from that womb of your mother, that by nature is designed, is so resilient and so intricate that it gets right back into shape. Huh? And that's how it is. I'm talking about in the way of our attitude and even in our thinking. That sometimes somebody may rub you the wrong way, but if you function from the spirit of cooperation, you show restraint and get back in shape and get back in line. And do what that which we call the creator of the universe has called us to do. That is, to cooperate with each other, coexist with each other, develop our intellect, and develop the correct attitude and the correct mindset. Remember, it says, train up a child in the way that he or she should go, and he will never depart. That it is a community activity. It is a community action that we must have when it comes to one who's truly educated. He's educated with the responsibility of having affection for discipline. And may we continue to have affection for each other. Thank you.
Amen, amen, man. That was nice. You did that record? Because that was beautiful, man.